So everybody, this afternoon I'm thrilled to be having a chat with Steve Knight, who is writer and creator of the great series Peaky Blinders and also Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Steve, thank you so much for talking to me today.
Absolute pleasure.
It's great to have you. When and how did your screenwriting start, sort of in the early days?
Yeah, it's a long time ago. I'd started off in advertising, in radio advertising actually, and then I worked at a radio station, Capital in London, and then this is the very quick run through, invented a board game that became a television series, so I started to write for TV, and then worked mostly in comedy, TV comedy, and then game shows. At the same time I was writing novels. One of the novels became a screenplay that I wrote, and that got made, and Stephen Frears directed it. And then I sort of had two different careers, which was TV, entertainment and film. And then I was pretty much exclusively into film, and then television became what it is now with streamers and all of that stuff. So I do a bit of both now. I do film and TV.
Fantastic. And what career path do you think you would have taken if you hadn't started in the film industry?
Blacksmith.
Oh, really? Okay.
My dad was a farrier.
Oh, wow.
And he wanted he had 4 sons, 2 daughters. Yep. He wanted all of the sons, 5 sons. He wanted all of the sons to become blacksmiths, and encouraged us to, instead of going to school in the morning, to go with him and shoe. So,
fantastic.
But either fortunately or one of my brothers became a farrier and has been a farrier in the Cheltenham area.
What's his name?
Richard Knight.
Richard Knight.
He's in Charlton Kings.
Okay,
but he's retired.
Very near me.
Yeah, he's retired now.
Okay.
But I couldn't do it.
No.
You know, it's one of those things, you either can or you can't. My dad used to say, I can tell by the way you take off your jacket whether or not you can shoe a horse.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I know, it's quite chilling. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to take it off. But no, I couldn't do that, so I had to do something else.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. So you've written many brilliant films and TV series. Peaky Blinders is probably the most known to everyone. What inspired you to write this?
Well, funny enough, it's stories my dad and my mum told me, because they grew up in Small Heath in Birmingham in the 20s and 30s, and they used to tell me all these stories about my dad's uncles, and my mum was a bookies runner. They used to use children because it was illegal to bet off track.
Yeah.
So they used to use kids. So she used to walk down the street with a basket of watching, and people would put their bets, write the name of the bet and horse and their shilling or whatever, drop it into the bag of watching, and then she'd take it to the bookie. And my dad told me about his uncles, who everybody referred to as the Peaky Blinders.
Yeah.
His gang. And of course, they were kids at the time, so everything was obviously glamorous and glorious. And they told me, and I was a kid, and so it was doubly mythologized. And so I had this sort of Western in my head set in Small Heath in Birmingham of what life used to be like. Of course, that's not how it was.
No.
You know, that's the myth. And rather like the Americans take the West and mythologize that, I decided to mythologize this sort of history that I've been told, set in Birmingham.
How fantastic. Did you do a lot of research?
No.
Not really. No? Where did you gather the information from? But
mostly it was word of mouth from relatives and uncles and aunts and stuff, but they didn't give me the plots of real stories, because obviously the plots are huge, but it was more an indication of how people were and how men were in particular, especially when they came back from the war.
Yes.
And these were first-hand accounts from people who were kids whose parents came back. And an uncle of mine, who was an older brother to my dad, who, he was like 15 and starts work on the railways. And he said the men had all come back and said they were horrible. They were hard as men. They'd all had these terrible experiences of war.
Yeah.
And, it's almost an exact opposite to how things are now, where people come back damaged from war, and they got no help
No.
or understanding. They were told just get on, and they did. But the thing is, they did just get on.
Yes.
And they lived lives of a kind, but they were very badly damaged. And I just wanted to try and capture the sort of the hardness, which is very different to how things are. But men were expected to be rock.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and that's what I've tried to put into the beginning. Then the plots obviously are made up, but I also, the research I did, I avoided history books completely.
Yeah.
Because they don't really tell that sort of working class story.
No.
And I went to the Birmingham Mail newspaper archive and just read reports of incidents, which is so, you know, somebody stands up in the bull ring and starts talking about revolution and gets arrested for sedition. Start reading about Russia or something, you know. Yeah. And it was really quite glamorous. So I tried to do that, tried to use word of mouth in newspapers and not try to sort of buy into the conventional history, which usually is trying to find patterns that at the time didn't exist. Yeah,
yeah, that's fascinating. And how do you manage to write some of these characters in Peaky Blinders who are not nice, you know, not really nice characters, but as a viewer, you seem to manage to get us to grow to like them and actually care about them. It's very clever. How do you do it?
The simple answer is I don't know, because my way of writing is to just sit down with a knowledge of sort of who the character might be and then let it happen. It sounds weird, but I used to pretend that I'd done loads of research and structure in the storyline and stuff, but I don't. I tend to just let it happen. And almost let the characters talk to each other.
Yeah.
But as regards sympathetic characters, first of all, television gives you a lot of screen time, where a movie doesn't. Like you can have a character be unsympathetic for a long time in television and slowly bring them around. And so it's almost like the longer it takes to like this person, the more they are liked.
Yes, yeah.
Somehow, because they've sort of found this person. And really odd things happen. Like, I don't know if people watch the show or not, but there's a character called Arthur who is very damaged and very flawed. And there was an incident in series 5 where he attacks this completely innocent person with a razor blade. And it was a really grotesque attack. And people, like 3 or 4 people said, "Oh, poor Arthur." You think, well, hang on a minute, what about the person who
he's just attacked with the razor blades?
It's really odd how that works, but I think you just have to, because it's fiction, you know, you have to sort of go with it. And I think there is an element of projection into the screen where people look at people who don't obey the rules, and it's sort of a bit of a wish fulfillment.
Yes, yeah. Now, it must have been extremely difficult for you and all the cast and everyone involved when Helen McCrory, who played Aunt Polly in Peaky Blinders, very sadly lost her battle with cancer just as season 6 was being filmed. What were your lasting memories, would you say, of her?
She was an amazing person. I mean, she was ill for series 5. And the only people who knew was myself, the director, and hair and makeup. Because she, you know, there were obvious symptoms, but she carried on because this was her life. People always say this when people have passed on, but this is absolutely true. She was such a laugh, you know, and full of life and very irreverent and great on the set. And like her and Killian really run the actors. And yeah, it was such a tragedy. I mean, losing the character is massively secondary to the fact that we lost a personally an actor. But it was just a question of degrees, where at first she was in it and then she would only be in it for a bit, and then only 10 days of shooting, then 5 days, then none. And then she passed on. So yeah, it was a real blow because she was absolutely integral. Yeah.
No, it must have been. So, Peaky Blinders, what's next for Peaky Blinders? Are you doing more series?
No, on this very keyboard under the screen here, I'm doing the film, the movie.
Okay, wow.
which we're going to shoot in. I'm building some film and television studios in Birmingham, in Dig.
Okay.
And we're going to shoot the film there. We're doing the television series in October. We start shooting, so in a couple of weeks. But I'm planning that the first feature film we shoot there will be Peaky.
That's so exciting.
I know, it'll be great. And we're going to shoot on the locations will be around there, because Digbeth is exactly where and Small Heath is exactly where the real.
Gosh, that's brilliant news.
I know.
Everyone would be thrilled to hear that.
Yeah, no, it's great. I can't wait. I mean, the script's coming on really well.
How fantastic. How long will it take, the whole process? I mean, the writing process, I do my bit quite. I pride myself on that. It's everybody else. Everyone needs to hurry up.
No, I would take, it'll probably be about 8 weeks.
Yeah.
That's sort of not constantly on it.
No.
To write the script, and then obviously the main cast we are contracting right now. Then we'll cast. They've already started the process of scouting for locations and things, even though they haven't had the script yet. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And then we shoot, and I'm hoping it will be in about 12 months that we start shooting.
Brilliant. Oh, well, that will keep you busy.
Yes.
Amongst everything else you're doing.
I know, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. So one last thing on Peaky Blinders. So it seems to have created a whole new fashion trend. You only have to go racing at Cheltenham to see all the men in Peaky Blinders attire. What do you think of that?
As long as they behave themselves, which sometimes they don't.
Well, I know. Yes.
Yeah, you know, it's a fashion item, not a way of life.
No, exactly. As long as they haven't got razor blades inside their cap.
Exactly. No, I mean, to be honest, there is nothing more flattering than people than the thing you're doing entering the culture. So the haircuts and the way of dressing and stuff it's amazing. And I didn't expect this to happen, but it's not just here. It's in the US. It's in Turkey.
It's on everywhere, isn't it?
Russia, all over the place. So
yeah,
it's wonderful. And I didn't ever think it'd be like this, but yeah, it's fantastic.
That's brilliant. So Steve, you also co-created Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? What a winner that's been. I mean, how did the idea originate and evolve?
Well, I was working at Capital Radio. This really is a long time ago. And there was me and 2 other people, Mike Whitehead and David Briggs, and we used to come up with competitions for the breakfast show with Chris Tarrant. And just quizzes and stupid things. And then we did a couple for television, which went, they were okay. And we started working on this one where the original idea was an unlimited prize. That you could just keep, in other words, you just keep doubling it forever.
Yeah.
So you could win whatever. And we couldn't get insured for that. Nobody would insure in case some brain box came on and 10 billion.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So they said, you've got to think of a limit. We said, well, make it a million, which at the time was ridiculous, but they understood that, it took us 4 years to sell it, because originally everybody was saying quiz shows are dead, like 1950s America, this is what people watch. And then Paul Smith, who's the producer, played it with real money with the head of ITV. And he got it, because you have to have the real money to feel it.
Yes.
And he really went for it. So, it went mad. And it went mad for a week in England. And then we started getting calls from the US. And it was very quick that it all took off.
Yeah. And how involved are you with it now?
I'm not involved at all now. It is what it is. And it runs. I mean, I don't think I haven't even seen an episode with Jeremy Clarkson. But I hear he's very good. Yeah.
He is very good. Yeah, he's brilliant. And the quiz has sort of spawned many films, like I don't know, Slumdog Millionaire and Coughing Major.
Coughing Major.
Yeah. Did you have any involvement in these films?
No, and I sort of, when you've done something, that's it. You want to move on with it. But I have to be completely honest, I haven't seen this Slumdog, and I didn't watch the Coffee Major, but I was there for the actual events of the
Yes. Oh, brilliant.
That was enough.
I bet. Yeah, you didn't need to see any film. And I guess actually, if you haven't watched the Clarkson one hosting it, because there's now Ask the Host.
Oh, really?
Is now a question. I was going to say, how did that idea come about? But you might not know.
No. I mean, we did the phone a friend and 50-50, and that's the audience. But the reason we did that was we used to play it with people in the office and with money. It's 20 quid or, and they just keep taking the money. They wouldn't carry on. They wouldn't risk what they got already. So we started thinking, how are we going to keep people in the game? So we did. We'll remove 2 of the options. Ask people in the room. Somebody who might know the answer. None of it worked, and then by accident somehow we discovered that if you show the contestant the question,
yes,
before they decide whether to answer it or not, it works like magic. Because when they don't know what the question is, they completely don't want to go there.
No.
But as soon as they see the question, they think, well, my dad might know the answer.
Yeah, it's sort of
and it keeps them in.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And one last thing, Steve, can you tell us a little bit about the new series Rogue Heroes coming out in the autumn?
It's brilliant, I can tell you, because it's the work. This is not about, the script is really good, I think. But a fantastic team. They went out to Morocco during the pandemic and shot the thing. We've had unparalleled access to SAS personnel, past and present. I had the absolute honour of meeting Mike Sadler, who is the last surviving member of the original SAS team. So basically, it's about the way that the SAS was formed in 1941 in North Africa by David Sterling, Paddy Mayne, Jock Lewis, and Mike Sadler, amongst others. And what I did, there's a book, Rogue Heroes, by Ben McIntyre, so I use that a lot. But I also spoke to people, and again tried to use real events, and just discovered this group of young, and they were young. They were like early 20s. I've got sons older than these people. They're kids. And they're like 22, 23, and they're officers, and they just decide the war's going badly in North Africa. They just decide there's another way of doing this, and they literally just go off and do it.
Yeah,
they're not even told to. They go and steal a load of equipment and weapons and ammunition from the New Zealanders and steal them in the night, and then just start. They just start blowing up German planes, and in the end, they turn the course of the war, and they're incredibly brave, incredibly funny. A mixed bag, of public schools, jails. They're all from all over the place, and they just form this incredible band of people. So the story itself is so good, and I think we've done it justice. And we've screened it for the SAS, and they love it, and they give us their approval, that's not public yet, but it's going to be so good.
Fantastic. Well, if I want all the Grapevine members to hopefully see if they can come along, get tickets for this private screening you're doing in we think November, but
it depends on when the BBC broadcast, but we think it's safe in November.
Yes,
because we can't screen it until after it's been out.
No,
until the first episode has been out.
Well, we all very much look forward to that. Steve, thank you very, very much.
Pleasure.
Really interesting and lovely to meet you. And that was just really fascinating.
Here's to Vinotopia.
Yes, here's to Vinotopia, exactly.